One of the hardest truths in our industry is accepting the simple, cold fact that clients are going to leave us and understanding that it's usually not personal. But as salon professionals, we often have a hard time accepting that. The reality is that most salon clients that leave us kind of fade away silently. They disappear. All of a sudden, a couple months later, we realize, we haven't seen their name in the books recently. And we start to process in our head, I wonder why they left. And we can be really nasty with ourselves and tell ourselves some bad things. Oh, you know what? They must not like me. They must have not enjoyed the experience. They must be frustrated. We're making all these assumptions about what's going on in their heads. 99% of them are not true, and we're not being good to ourselves. In today's episode, we're going to give you the real reasons why clients are leaving, and more importantly, what you can do to either prevent that from happening or keep connected so they reconsider you in the future. Welcome to the Salon Scoop, the podcast that helps salon owners and salon professionals grow their business, boost their brand, and stay inspired. From salon marketing and social media to leadership and growth, we uncover the strategies and stories that move the industry forward. If you love learning, growing, and are serious about leveling up your salon business and brand, you've just found your new go-to podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Salon Scoop. Today, we are going to get the scoop on why your clients might be leaving, why they're not coming back. We're going to unravel the real reasons, not those ghostly reasons that you tell yourself in the head, not the reasons that you share with your friend or your coworker that we are assuming about them. We're talking real business, real reasons. With me to break this down is the one and only salon owner, service provider, social media and content creator for Salon S.O.S, Sarah Perrin. I think, Sarah, you are the perfect person to join me on this episode. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, of course. This is something that gets talked about frequently in the salon. And as a service provider that has been doing it for 15 years, obviously there's been, client turnover, and it's hard not to take it personally. But like you kind of said off the top, it's very rarely a personal issue. There's usually so many other things that go into it. So I'm excited to kind of dive a little bit deeper into that.
Yeah, but you probably never have a client leave, right?
Oh gosh. And it's funny because again, like you see these people, like for me, like every 2 to 4 weeks, right? You sit in front of them. I have closer relationships with a lot of my clients than I do some friends and family, because how often are you sitting, face to face with somebody for an hour and a half every 3 weeks? So yeah, again, it's hard not to take it personally when you've seen somebody for 10 years and then all of a sudden they're not there anymore. So
yeah. And as I had said in the top, most of the time it happens slowly and silently. We don't even realize it until it's maybe too late or right to even talk to them. So I think understanding why it happens, like why clients leave and how to prevent it's a skill, right? And I think learning this skill is a very important one that any salon professional can benefit from. And that's what we're going to tackle today. So Sarah, why don't you jump in and tackle the first topic for us, which of course is related to price. But let's share with our listeners the real truth around some of this price issue and how that leads to losing clients.
So price is arguably the top reason why a client will eventually fade off. And that's not to shame anybody for raising their prices. You deserve a price increase the same way any other professional deserves a raise. And prices go up for what you're purchasing, so your prices need to reflect that. So it's definitely not something that you should have any shame or guilt around, but it is something that needs to be communicated with your client in a proper way so that they're educated and knowing that you're not just bumping your price for no reason. So I think educating your client on the value of the experience, your location, your education, everything like that, so that they have this idea of why your pricing is reflected the way it is and why you're doing raises. And again, this is a really tough thing. I've had people leave over a $3 price increase, and it's hard not to feel like that's a slap in the face. But I think if you really educate these clients and let them know why the price is increasing, and also being open, because some people value different things more than others. There have been times where I will start buying a different kind of cereal because the one I like is $3 more and I can't justify the extra cost when the other version works just as well for me, right? So I think that the moral of the story with the pricing is you are going to shed clients when you have a price increase. I heard a statistic once, it's something like, you as a salon professional, you should be having almost like a 20% turnover every year, because when you raise your prices, you may be shedding some of those clients, but then you're also making room for new clients that are more than happy to pay your new prices and see the value in what you're providing. So one of the hardest things to not take personally, but other people's wallets and what they want to spend money on is truly none of your business. And so all you can do as the service provider is just make sure that the experience you're providing, that the service you're providing is reflective of the price.
Yeah, and I think one thing to remember based on what you just said is those new clients, right, that you're making room for, who are more than happy to pay your new price. Keep in mind, it's not a new price to them. It's just the price. They don't know the old price. So you don't have to worry about that whole like, oh, shifting prices. You want to meet new people, right, that don't know what you used to charge. That's part of evolving in the industry. So keep that in mind. You need to make space for that, and it's okay. The second topic that I'm going to jump into is that the reality is life changes for all of us. Things happen, and our life routine sometimes gets flipped upside down. And I just want everybody out there to recognize that when a routine breaks, it doesn't mean that the relationship has to break with you as a service provider. But be cognizant and understanding that, you know what, clients, it might be a routine change for them. They might have a new job, or maybe they lost their job. Maybe their schedule is changing. Maybe they all of a sudden have new family responsibilities that they didn't have before. And so they have time changes. Maybe they have health challenges that they're dealing with, financial stress, relocation. There's all sorts of things that can happen in their life that might lead to them for a temporary amount of time, maybe permanent, but sometimes it's just temporary. These things may not be conducive for them to continue to see you in the way that they used to. Doesn't mean that they don't like you, doesn't mean that they're not happy with your service, doesn't mean that the pricing is an issue. It just means that it no longer fits with their schedule, with their routine. And I think what we can probably take note of that is, again, don't let the demons tell you a story in your head that may not be true. Just keep a consistent, gentle communication with all clients, past, present. And if you haven't seen them in a while, it's okay. You don't have to feel bad. They might be feeling some guilt themselves. You're probably feeling a little bit awkward. They're also probably feeling a little bit awkward. Maybe they didn't say anything because they don't want you to know. They don't want, to hurt your feelings. There's this whole dance that goes on that sometimes is, it's silly at the end of the day. And you both have, respect for each other. And if you continue to show respect towards your guest, right, much more likely that when their life break gets back on track, that they will definitely come back to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I have seen a ton with my own clientele. Like I say, I have started with people when they were in, graduating high school, and now all of a sudden they're married with 3 children, and getting lashes done every 2 weeks just isn't a priority anymore. So like, I feel like that is such a big thing, is as long as you don't hard stop close that door because it's awkward, like you said, maybe when things settle down and the routine kind of goes back to normal, then they're more willing to come back to you because it wasn't this weird thing that you made it. The next thing I want to talk about is that convenience will often trump loyalty. And I think we're all guilty of this in different ways. There's been times where I'm ashamed to admit that I have ordered something on Amazon instead of stopping in at the mom and pop shop a few blocks down, because it's just more convenient and easier for me to have it delivered. So it's the same thing with salon services. So it might be location, it might be availability. That's again a big thing that I have found with my schedule as the years have gone by, because I have limited my availability and most of my clients need to book 6 months in advance. That's not practical for everybody. So something more convenient might be the place where they can call and get in that day. So it's nothing personal. And I've had multiple clients even tell me, like, this is not a personal thing at all. I just can't, I don't know what my life looks like next week, let alone in 6 months. So that convenience aspect is a major thing, and something that I have told clients, if they stop coming and they communicate that for one reason or another, let's say their sister starts doing nails or a place just opened up down the block from them and they can just hop on over whenever. I always say, I'm like, even though it is a personal thing and you do develop more of a relationship with your service provider than maybe some other industries, is at the end of the day, it is a service. And I would never apologize to A&W for getting McDonald's one night. Like, and again, I know that there's obviously more of a personal aspect to it, but at the end of the day, it is a service that you're providing. And oftentimes people do value convenience over loyalty. Not always. You will still have those diehards that will follow you to the ends of the earth. But yeah, people are busy and convenience is a major, major factor.
So what are some things that we can do to make it more convenient for them to at least minimize that impact?
You are still a service provider. So for things like convenience time wise scheduling, you can't bend over backwards for every single client that you have to make sure that they can get their exact time and that your location is perfect for them. Something that I will often do, and it is more work on my end because I am booking people so far in advance, but I will message them when I'm opening my books and I will say, I know that this is a lot, and if it doesn't work, that's totally fine. But if you wanted to let me know what your ideal time to come at or day, I will do my absolute best to accommodate it. And if I can't accommodate it, I will have other solutions for you. So I think that that's where it comes back to communication and educating them. Because if you just say, oh, sucks to suck, I can't get you in for 3 months, and you didn't communicate that with them at all, then that's where kind of I feel like leaves a bitter taste in your mouth or people get annoyed. So I think, again, one of the most major things in terms of client retention is just communicating and making sure that if you can accommodate in any way or have backup options, then you're taking care of your guest, even if they're not the ones that are coming to you.
Yeah, I like that. I think clear, consistent communication is important. But even if you think about from a technology standpoint, where things like online booking, maybe you don't have online booking, but that's where the world has been going, and that is a convenience factor for people. So you might want to make sure that you're thinking of incorporating that. Online sales for product. Sarah, you mentioned, shopping at Amazon. A lot of people are shopping online. You should probably be considering how can you make sure that your products are available online to be purchased through you instead of through Amazon, so that you take away that excuse of, oh, it's more convenient, to shop somewhere else online. Looking for those opportunities using technology, digital is definitely there as an opportunity to help you provide as much convenience as possible. And like I said, having clear, consistent communication so that they are aware is key, because the next topic I'm going to jump into is that inconsistent communication actually creates distance between you and your clients. And this one can be difficult and uncomfortable to acknowledge, but it's the truth and it is critical. Sometimes clients, they don't come back because they've either felt ignored or they just forget. We're just so bombarded every day with thousands of messages from all sorts of different companies, not just in the beauty space, but all over the place. And we get emails from here, and we see social media posts from there, and we see TV commercials here and radio ads here, whatever the case may be. We're just being bombarded constantly. And if they're not getting a reminder from the salon about, oh, it's time to rebook, or they're not seeing your content anymore on social media, they're no longer aware, and you just kind of fade from being top of mind. Now, if you've had a client for the last, 5, 10 years regular, probably doesn't matter. But for some of the newer ones that have only been with you for a year, even inside of 2 years, it's easy for them to be distracted if there's not consistent communication from you. So you need to stay visible, you need to stay familiar, you need to stay present with them. That means regular touch points. It could be emails or text messages, not just about appointment reminders, but just little check-ins. Keep yourself top of mind. Don't just rely on the social media posts and expect that all your clients are seeing that. It's just not the case. You might want to have ongoing education, videos, whatever you can do. And I'd say even some personal touches. Christmas time, it'd be a nice opportunity. Send a physical Christmas card to your clients if you have their, if you do have their address on file. What an amazing thing. Or every now and then you could write personal notes, and leave it with them at the end of the visit. That goes a long way to just kind of anchoring a lasting memory, because it's too easy to forget in today's world because of all the craziness and busyness that we are faced with on our daily lives.
It's such a fine line between like personal and professionalism, obviously, but I do find that like a lot of my clients, especially my long-term clients, there is kind of that bond. Like I was saying, I'm like I've been there with them through graduations and weddings and babies and deaths and all of these things, and it doesn't take any time to shoot a quick message, congratulations or my condolences or whatever it might be. So I think those little extra moments and kind of elevated client experience makes a world of difference, the same way that I will always go back to certain local shops because they went out of their way to have that extra little personal touch that made it feel like you weren't just another customer walking in. So kind of to like segue into the next one is that reasons that clients will leave is because they need change, and retention does require some level of adaptability. So I'm going to use my own salon as an example. Sometimes I feel like, as we were talking about before, people have babies, people have different work changes. There's different things that are always happening, and maybe spending 3 hours in your chair getting the full shebang service isn't realistic anymore. So I think it's super important to have options for different things. So for myself, I'll use lashes as an example. I have different time. Instead of booking people in for 2 week, 3 week, 4 week, whatever it might be, they can choose the frequency, and then they can choose the time and the cost associated with it. So at one point in their life, they might have been able to come every 2 weeks and spend 2 hours laying in the lash bed getting their lashes done. Maybe that's not feasible anymore. So maybe they come every 3 weeks and we just do an hour and a half, whatever it might be. Another thing is, and again, this is going to be more for a salon as a whole, but we do a leveling system. So let's say pricing or availability starts to get tight. I can say, look, I absolutely love having you in my chair. I know that my schedule has changed, my pricing has changed. If you're more comfortable with, a lower price point, or maybe easier, like accessibility to an appointment book, I've got so and so who I've trained, and their books are open, they're more flexible, their pricing is lower, etc., etc., etc. You're obviously not going to be able to bend over backwards for every single client, but I think just having those options and communicating that thoroughly with them, I have found has been huge for, the hair game, especially. Like I look at my sister and business partner. She's been doing hair for 20 years. Her hourly pricing is pretty substantial. And if I was just a regular client, I don't know if I would be able to afford that pricing. But with her being able to say, you know what, you're still coming to the salon. I so appreciate your support. This is so and so who is trained under me. They're fantastic. Lower hourly cost, yada, yada, yada. So you're still retaining that client in your salon, even if, again, they're not in your chair. And yeah, that's something, again, I communicate this with my guests all the time, because sometimes if I can't get them in or whatever it might be, I'll send them off to one of my other team members, and they're like, well, I feel like I'm cheating on you. So I feel like having that communication with them and just being like, you're absolutely not cheating on me. I so respect and am appreciative of the fact that you're still coming to the salon, etc. Keeping that open line of communication, because it can be awkward being a client and being like, I can't afford your prices anymore, or I can't book 6 months in advance, or I can't only come at 2 p.m, whatever it might be. So that open line of communication and making sure that your client feels comfortable enough to tell you and be honest with you when you're not able to accommodate their needs anymore, but you are offering a solution to it is super important.
Totally makes sense. Great insights, Sarah. I love the personal touch that you bring to the episodes. I think to kind of close up here, I mean, the hardest truth for a salon professional to hear, salon owners as well, it's not even more because you're worried about the entirety of the business. Most clients are not leaving because they're unhappy. They leave because there's nothing that's actively pulling them back in. And so they slowly are able to drift for all the reasons that we've outlined, in this episode today. Without consistent touch points, right? Like loyalty incentives or personalized follow-ups or a clear reason to rebook now instead of waiting and letting them call someday, right? That client can just slowly drift. Not usually dramatic, but they just drift quietly. But retention, you got to remember this, retention is built between the appointments, not just during the appointments when they're there with you. And if you are able to build yourself a system that rewards loyalty, you want to have a loyalty program in place, a points program, encourage return visits, you've got to put a strong emphasis on rebooking, right? It should be part of every conversation at the end of the visit, maintaining ongoing connection, everything we've talked about, not just appointment reminders, but emails, texts to just sort of say, hey, updates with some news, some educational tips, keeping you top of mind, right? All those things help the client feel anchored with you. And anchored clients are far, far, far more likely to come back even after a time away due to temporary change in life, temporary convenience things where they, do something else for a little bit of time. If they feel properly anchored, they're much more likely to come back to you. So it's time to stop blaming yourself and assuming all these bad reasons in your head as to why they might have left, bitching and complaining about it, and start strengthening, right, what actually supports your business behind the scenes with systems. Because when those clients feel connected, they feel supported, and they feel valued beyond just the time in the chair, they don't disappear quietly, and they come back when they're ready. Hope you learned something out of today's episode, everyone. If you have additional thoughts, questions, insights, please feel free to reach out to us. We always love to connect with our listeners. Make sure that you feel supported, engaged, and we don't want just a one-way relationship of Sarah and I talking to you on the podcast. So we look forward to hearing from you. In the meantime, go out there and start crushing it with your clients, and make sure that you are connecting with them between those visits. Thank you so much for listening to the Salon Scoop podcast. This show is produced by Salon S.O.S, a digital marketing agency by industry professionals for industry professionals. If you want simple and affordable solutions for any of your salon marketing needs, such as websites, client loyalty, Google search rankings, social media, or more, come visit us at salonsos.ca or on Instagram at salon.s.o.s. If you want to hear more episodes like this and help us continue to bring the industry great content, it would mean so much to us if you would support us in one of the following ways. Either share this episode with one other industry professional, and rate the show on Spotify, or write us a quick review on Apple Music. We want to hear your feedback. If you have follow-up questions or ideas for future episodes, please reach out. DM us on Instagram at salonus.s.o.s, or hit us up on our website again at salonsos.ca. Again, thanks so much for listening. Now go get your hustle on, keep smiling, and we'll catch you on our next episode.